You check your phone before you open your eyes. You answer one email before breakfast. You tell yourself you'll rest this weekend, and then the weekend disappears into errands and screens and the quiet hum of guilt for not doing more. You call this normal. Your ancestors would have called it insanity. Because 3,000 years ago, a group of former slaves walked out of Egypt and were handed a strange new law. One day in 7, stop. Not slow down. Stop completely. No work. No exceptions. At the time, it sounded like madness. No economy in the ancient world operated that way. Empires ran their laborers, their farmers, even their animals, every single day, because every single day of output mattered. So why would a wandering desert nation choose to switch off their entire economy on a fixed schedule? The real answer is far stranger than religious tradition. The real answer is that the Sabbath might be the oldest productivity system ever designed, and modern research is only now catching up to what it already knew. Here's where it gets interesting. In the 1990s, sleep researcher Nathaniel Kleitman's successors at the University of Chicago began studying something called sleep debt. The finding was simple and brutal. Humans cannot catch up on rest the way they catch up on emails. A short night here, a missed break there compounds. It doesn't average out. It accumulates like financial debt until the body forces a withdrawal you didn't approve. Now hold that thought and go back to Mount Sinai. The ancient Hebrews weren't told to rest when they felt tired. They were told to rest on a fixed, non-negotiable rhythm. Every 7th day, no matter how good business was, no matter how big the harvest. This is the part most people miss when they read it as religious ritual instead of operating system. It wasn't about piety. It was about pattern. Think about that for a second. What kind of ancient economy can afford to power down one full day out of 7 and still survive, let alone thrive? You'd assume the numbers don't work. But the data says otherwise. Anthropologist James Sussman, who spent years studying hunter-gatherer societies like the Jew/Hoansi of the Kalahari, found something almost embarrassing for modern productivity culture. These communities, often dismissed as primitive, worked far fewer hours than the average office employee today. Some estimates put it at 15 to 20 hours a week of actual subsistence labor. The rest of their time went to rest, storytelling, and social repair. They weren't lazy. They were efficient in a way we've forgotten how to be. So here's the twist. The Sabbath wasn't a brake pedal bolted onto a productive system. It was the engine design itself. You've probably heard the phrase burnout treated like a modern invention, something that arrived with smartphones and open-plan offices. It isn't new. It's just newly named. Psychologist Christina Maslach, who pioneered burnout research in the 1970s, identified 3 core symptoms that show up across cultures and centuries. Exhaustion, cynicism, a collapsing sense of effectiveness. What's strange is that ancient law seemed to anticipate all 3, thousands of years before anyone had a word for it. Now, here's where most people expect the Bible new science moment. That's not quite it either. It's deeper and a little more uncomfortable than that. The Sabbath wasn't just about avoiding exhaustion. It was about something economists now call signaling and trust. In the ancient Near East, your ability to stop working was a status marker. Slaves didn't get to stop. Animals didn't get to stop. Only a free person, secure enough in their provision, could afford to put down their tools for a full day and trust that tomorrow would still be there. Resting wasn't weakness. Resting was a declaration of trust, both in your God and in your own systems, that the world would not collapse the moment you looked away from it. Read that again, because it cuts against almost everything modern hustle culture teaches you. You've been told that stepping away signals weakness, that the people who win are the ones who never stop checking, building, optimizing. The ancient framework says the opposite. The person who can stop is the person who has actually built something solid. The person who can't stop is often just managing a system on the edge of collapse, one bad week away from disaster. This is where the bridge to business gets impossible to ignore. Henry Ford, of all people, ran an early experiment that nobody talks about enough. In 1926, Ford cut his factory workweek from 6 days to 5 and shortened the workday, too. Competitors thought he'd lost his mind. Less time on the line should mean less output. Instead, productivity per hour rose. Workers made fewer errors. Turnover dropped. For wasn't running a Bible study. He was running a factory, but he had, almost by accident, rediscovered the same principle written into a desert law 3,000 years earlier. Limited input, protected by a hard boundary, produces better output than unlimited input running on fumes. You'd think, given that evidence, more companies would follow. Most didn't. Why? Because stopping feels like losing, even when the math says otherwise. Even when researchers like Anders Ericsson, known for his work on expert performance, found that elite performers, musicians, athletes, chess players, almost universally trained in deliberate, limited bursts, not endless grinding. The myth of the unlimited hustle isn't just spiritually exhausting. It's empirically wrong. So what does this have to do with you? Scrolling through a notification at 11 p.m., telling yourself you'll rest when things calm down. Things will not calm down. That was never the deal. The ancient law didn't wait for a calm moment to insert rest. It forced rest into the calendar regardless of how the harvest was going, regardless of how busy the marketplace felt that week. It treated rest the way you treat a debt payment. Non negociable. Scheduled. Protected from your own shifting moods and excuses. Here's the part that should make you uncomfortable in a useful way. If an ancient society without spreadsheets, without labor laws, without a single productivity app, understood that unlimited output destroys long-term output, what does it say about a modern culture that still treats rest as something you earn only after proving your worth? Maybe the question was never, how do I do more? Maybe it was always, what's the one boundary I refuse to cross, no matter how good or bad business gets? That's the real inheritance hiding inside an old desert law. Not a rule about which day to avoid chores. A blueprint for sustainable output, tested across 3,000 years, rediscovered by sleep labs, factory floors, and burnout researchers who had no idea they were just catching up to Sinai. You check your phone before you open your eyes. Maybe tomorrow, you don't.